Welcome to the Courage to Change with Karen podcast, the place where we get real about addiction recovery and celebrate the victories against struggle. I'm Karen Gardner, your navigator on this journey of healing, committed to uplifting families touched by addiction. Together, let's unravel the intricate dance of mind, body, and spirit with compassion, tenacity, and steadfast commitment. Hi, this is Karen, and this is episode 15 of Courage to Change with Karen. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you're well and happy. I'm getting ready for, it's summer in the United States. Spring right now. It's absolutely beautiful. I don't know where it's like where you're at, but I have a yard full of hummingbirds. There was a hummingbird, and she laid some eggs, and they flew away. And then I went to check the nest, and there was 2 new eggs in there. So she's doing another batch. And so I've been watching her. I love to do that. I try to get pictures and see how they're coming along. It's very exciting. Today I went out on the side yard. I think her 2 babies, they have to find their own space. And she went to the side yard. And I think her babies are living over there. So I walked down the side yard to put some trash, and they just dive bombed me, like flew right by my head. I don't know if you've ever heard a hummingbird right up close, but it's like a helicopter. And yes, I ducked. It probably looked the fool if anybody was watching me. A neighbor or someone would have seen me duck. And I might have even yelled a little. But it's beautiful. It's a beautiful day today. It's 98 degrees in Palm Springs, California. And, it gets very hot here. I live in the desert, and that's why I moved to Montana in the summer. And I don't know if I'm going to make it up there this year. But anyway, I'm so glad you're here. And I want to encourage you, please, to subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying this podcast, and maybe share it with a friend who needs some help. Today I'm going to read April 15th out of the Courage to Change reading, April 15th. Many of us come to Al-Anon hoping to find answers to the questions that plague us. Should I leave the alcoholic? What about the financial, sexual, medical, legal, and emotional problems? How can I stop abusive behavior? I'm going to read that again because I screwed up that sentence. How can I stop abusive behavior? There are many legitimate options as there are members. And Al-Anon's position is that we must each find answers that are right for us. The one exception is a life-threatening or violent situation. In this case, Al-Anon suggests putting first things first, ensuring the safety of ourselves and our children. Perhaps this means leaving money and keys in a safe place so that we can get out in an emergency, or calling the police, or arranging to stay with a friend, if only for today. We learn that we deserve to be safe. Today's reminder: in Al-Anon, we don't make anyone's choices for them, but we do offer advice of a different kind. We suggest attending Al-Anon meetings, finding a sponsor, and reaching out by phone. We advise our members to practice the steps, slogans, and traditions, and to incorporate these principles into every aspect of our lives. This kind of advice helps us to find answers that we can live with. And then there's a little quote here, and this quote is from The Dilemma of the Alcoholic Marriage. It says, "When I concentrate on my personal progress, the difficulties over which I have no control will iron themselves out." Well, that's true. So a lot of people, this is an important topic. I get a lot of questions and concerns from people of all types in all sorts of situations. I mean, as much as they differ, they're the same. And a lot of people that contact me are in a position where they can't leave. Mostly financial reasons they can't leave. And, that saddens me. So let's talk about that for a little bit. Some people can financially leave, but they won't leave because of emotional reasons. They're too worried that the loved one will die if they leave. That, again, very sad situation. So let's clear this up. Let's talk about this. Regardless of what situation you're in, this should help you. And that's what I'm here for, is to give you a different perspective, okay? To give you a way to look at things a little bit differently. And it's easier as a third party who's not in it to give some clear-cut direction, right? So the first thing is there's a fundamental rule that you need to establish in your life, which says, if I am not safe, I need to leave, they need to leave, something needs to happen. If you are not safe, you need to get safe. If you have children in the house, you need to be safe. You need those children to be safe. And if you think, well, he gets crazy and he gets upset, or she gets a little wild when she's drinking, but she's never hurt us. Well, this is a progressive illness and it gets worse. It does not get better. And you hear all the time of people doing things that they would normally not do under the influence of drugs and alcohol. So you don't know what someone's going to do. So the first thing I tell people, I love what it says. In Al-Anon, we don't tell people what to do. We give them the steps and the principles, and we say, ask God for help, and just, put your recovery first, and everything else will work out. That is true. And I never tell anybody that contacts me, you need to leave your husband, you need to leave your wife, you need to kick somebody out. I never do that. What I do is I give you options. So fundamentally, though, the first thing that's just not a negotiable thing is your safety. So if somebody is getting out of control, you need to call the police. You just need to call the police. There's a whole bunch of reasons. One is for the immediate safety of you and your family. Two, it sets a precedent with the police department and the courts that they have been there before, that you have had to call for help. It's more important than you think, especially with children in the house. Three, it shows them you're not messing around. Now, they could come back and retaliate. So you really need to have a plan. Okay? You need to have a plan. If you call the police, I'm going to just say this. I'm going to say a bunch of stuff that you would not hear from probably anybody else, but I'm going to tell you the truth. I've had a lot of experience with this. If you have, let's talk about this for a minute. If you have children in your home and you are living with someone that is using drugs, I don't care if it's another sibling, another parent, a grandparent, if somebody is using drugs in the house and the police come and they find drugs in the house, they can take the kids. They can take the kids. It's child endangerment. You might not even do drugs. You might not have ever done drugs in your life, and they could still take your kids. I want you to think about that. Okay? And it means you're putting them in a dangerous situation. We hear about this. I heard recently, maybe a month ago, about a child that got into their parents' drugs and died. Very sad. So it's child endangerment. So as you're setting up rules in your house, if you know that somebody in your house is smoking crack or snorting cocaine, shooting heroin, snorting heroin, whatever they're doing, they're taking ketamine, whatever it is, I don't care what it is. You tell them to keep that stuff out of the house. It's not enough to tell them to get high in the garage, because that'll just the same thing, right? So you need to get some real clear boundaries about that. Listen, I know you use drugs. I know you cannot bring it in the house because your brothers and sisters, it's too dangerous for them. So that's the first thing you want to know. If you do call the police and there's drugs in the house, you need to be, you might want to think about that. Just think about that. It's just good to know. It's good information to know. Same with your car. If the person leaves drugs in your car and you get pulled over and there's children in the car and there's drugs in the car, that's child endangerment. Okay, so let's get real clear on that. But if you are in harm in any way, or your children are, you call the police. If they come and leave and the person decides to beat you up because you called the police, you call the police again, right? And you go find another place to stay. The neighbors, whatever. Tell the police you're not safe, whatever that is. Usually if you have to call again, they're taking them in. They're going to do a 5150, and 5150 means you're a danger to yourself or to someone else. And they take them in and they keep them for 3 days and sober them up. And then usually you don't have a problem until they get drunk again. So that's the first thing. You're just going to call the police. No more of this. Well, I don't want to call. I don't want him to go to jail. He's going to miss work. No, you just call the police. Safety is safety. That's it. So that's the fundamental rule that I'm going to give you. If you're unsafe, you got to call the police. You got to call for help. Okay? Now, moving on to how do I get out of this? Like I've done it. I've been here. We've tried it. They've gone to treatment and relapse and gone to treatment and relapse. I'm done trying. I'm done with the verbal abuse and the whatever, It comes with the territory. But you're done. And you can't leave because you don't have any money. So when people call me and they say, what do you think I should do? Should I leave? Should I kick them out? Well, there's questions, right? There's questions. Who owns the house? Whose name's on the deed? Who makes the most money? Do you have a place to go? Do you have any family? Do they have any family? Maybe you don't have any family, but your alcoholic has family that they can go live with. And you can keep the children in the house with their same routine. So you need to do the first thing I tell people is we're going to do some investigative, work here. We're just going to get some facts together. I have to tell you that this step is so powerful that sometimes after you do this step, you're not worried about leaving. You're like, okay, I can put up with it for a little longer because I know what I'm going to do, right? You feel empowered. So this is important. The first thing I tell people to do is to sit down with a piece of paper and draw a line down the middle. And on one side, you're going to write down all the money coming into the house, right? His paycheck, your paycheck, if there is one, if there's disability, if there's a rental income, whatever it is, all the money coming in to pay your life. On the other side of the page, I want you to write all the expenses, the cable bill, the phone bills, the car payments, the car insurance, life insurance payments if you have them, mortgage payment, the water, the gas, the electric, write down everything, daycare, food, rent if it's not a mortgage. Write down everything and total up both sides of that. That's the first thing you got to know. Then you're going to write down on the back side of the paper, you're going to write down the house. Is it in his name or your name? Is the lease in your name or his name? Is the car in your name or her name, right? I'm not trying to be gender specific. I'm just saying whoever it is the, are there 3 cars and they're all in her name? Are they all in your name? Because you have to think about insurance. If this person is driving a car, your kids, whoever, your brother, your sister, your grandchild, if they're driving your car and they get pulled over for a DUI, Or, right, they're going to impound the car. You're going to have to get the car out. Or if they get in an accident and hurt somebody or kill somebody, you're going to be liable. You're going to be as responsible as they are. Okay? So you need to write that down. Let's just look at the facts. That's all we're doing. Look at the facts. Well, whose name is everything in? Whose name is the water bill in? Whose name is everything in, right? Okay, so now at least you know that. Now, then you can look at things like, okay, I had one woman who, after she looked at it, she realized she could pay all the bills without his income and with just her income. It was going to be tight and it was going to be uncomfortable, but she could do it. That right there relieved her stress. The unknown, right? We're trying to get rid of the unknown. Let's say that's not your situation and you don't have any income. His is all the income and his is all, everything's in his name. Okay, so now you know where you stand. Now you got to figure out some options. If I needed to leave, what would I take? I need the kids' birth certificates. I need my passport. I need my jewelry, kind of pre-pack in your mind what you would need to take if you had to get out. And what of the kids that you need to get. And have that on a list. Have it prepared, right? If things are really bad, you might want to pack a bag and pack the kids' overnight bag and keep it in the trunk of your car, just in case you got to get out, right? And like police are on their way and you gotta get out, right? So, God, this sounds like a terrible podcast, doesn't it? Talking about these things. But if you are in this situation, I am telling you, this is gold. And I don't want to sugarcoat it like nobody lives like this. This is what happens when you have alcoholism and drug abuse, any kind of addiction, gambling, whatever it is. When you have this going on in your house, this is true talk. This is real talk right here. Okay? So you could keep some things if you have parents that you would go stay with and take the kids. Put some things over there. Kind of make a plan. Let's say you have nobody. A lot of people have nobody to go to. I want you to look at homeless shelters. I want you to look at battered women's shelters that take women and children and help them get started again. I want you to look at options. I want you to just be open to it. Doesn't mean you're doing anything. Okay? You're not pulling the trigger on anything here. You're just gathering information. What are your options? Now, let's say that you are in a position where you can stay in the house and keep the kids in the house and he's got to go. You got to do some research. You might have to call and get I don't know what they call it. When you just get you call an attorney and you can ask some questions without, I don't know what the word is. You can ask questions without putting them on retainer. Okay, you could get some legal advice, like, how am I going to do this, right? It might be that you have to hire an attorney. I helped one woman who was in business with her husband. And so she, got an attorney and she did the research. What was it going to take? He was driving the business into the ground. She was going to need to take over the business. So research. And you want to keep your research in a very private spot. If you need to lock it in the trunk of your car, you need to keep it at the neighbor's house, your parents' house. Dig a hole in the backyard. Don't let anybody see it. But do the footwork. Okay? And a lot of times, once you put the energy into the footwork, you don't have to do anything. It'll all work itself out. But, if not, you've got a plan. And I'm telling you, just having a plan is so empowering that you might be okay. You might say, okay, this is okay. I know I could make it if I had to, but I want to give it another try, right? I want to stay for the kids' sake. And you got to do what you got to do. But I don't think it hurts anybody to make a plan. If you don't have any cash at all, maybe you start a side hustle or start doing some ironing for someone or do some babysitting and start putting some money away that no one knows about but you. An emergency fund, right? Maybe you start doing that. It will empower you and you'll feel better. And as you're going to Al-Anon and you keep working on yourself, it'll all start working out. You just have to trust me. It'll all start working out. And all of a sudden you'll know, I gotta go. I gotta get the kids out of here. And you'll have a plan. And you'll say, I know exactly what I'm gonna do. Right? I think the unknown and when you don't have any money and you're depending on the person who is so sick and is going down the toilet right in front of your eyes, it's terrifying. It's terrifying. Not just that you're afraid that you're going to lose them, like they're going to die or they're going to end up with brain damage or have a heart attack or a stroke or start themselves on fire, kill themselves in a car accident. I mean, I could go on and on with how they could meet their demise, but it's fearful because you don't have any security. You don't know what's going to happen to you and your children. You don't know what's going to happen, right? Now, I have had, a lot of different situations. I had some parents that were in this situation, a husband and wife with a grown child. And he was causing so much havoc and they had no recovery at all. They were so determined to help this guy that they ended up putting a second mortgage on their house. They dipped into their retirement fund. They spent their retirement fund. I mean, they ended up with nothing. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. Trust me. So before it gets to that point, make a plan. You don't have to tell anybody about your plan. If you've got one person you can tell, maybe it's your minister, maybe it's your doctor, tell them I'm making a plan and I need to run this past you. What do you think? Right? And you'll be amazed at how people will come up with, oh, my brother's an attorney. He'll give you a free consultation. That's the word I was looking for. He'll give you a free consultation and give you your options, right? Or I know of a woman that can help you find a shelter to go to where you can take your children with you. I know of a safe house. I know of this. I know of that. I mean, you'll be amazed, but you've got to take some action, right? You have to make a plan. And to make a plan, you first have to know where you're at. And that's scary too, to write down how much it costs to live and how much you're bringing in, how much credit card debt there is. Is it in your name or his name or her name? You know what I mean? It's scary. But it's no scarier than what you're going through. The good news is it's scary, but you're going to feel empowered. So you got to just do it. And people in Al-Anon will help you. People in Al-Anon just say, I'm making a plan just in case. They'll say, oh, I made a plan. And they might give you options that you didn't know. Don't tell anybody that'll let your significant other who's suffering from addiction. You don't want them to know because all hell will break loose and you might end up on the street. So you want to be smart about it. You're going to empower yourself by first taking an inventory and then making a plan. Okay? So this is not an easy podcast to talk about. And a lot of you might think, oh my God, I can't believe she's saying this. Then this is not for you. But there is going to be one person who says, oh my God, that's what I need to do. I need to take an inventory of where I'm at because otherwise you feel victimized. You're stuck, right? You're just stuck. You don't want to be stuck. You got to start making some movement. You're more than welcome to contact me. You all know how to contact me. You can message on this podcast. You can email me at Karen@KarenGardenier.com. If you're not on my newsletter, you can respond to my newsletter. I send out once a week. A lot of ways you can reach me. You can DM me on any of my social media. I'm on all of them. So reach out to me if you want to run your plan past me. Okay. And just remember, the safety comes first before anything else. I mean, that's the fundamental foundation of your plan here, is that if you need to call for help, you call for help, whether it's the police, whether it's a neighbor, that you've kind of let know my family's in crisis and I'm going to call you, because they'll call the police for you, right? So start with this, right? Just start with this. Let's just get moving. You'll feel less victimized by the situation. You'll feel more empowered, and it's better than sitting there waiting for the other shoe to drop. Okay? So I have a Courage to Change private Facebook group. If you're not a part of, you might want to join that. The link is in the show notes, which is the description here on this podcast. If you click more, you'll see that. There's also a great, it's a link for a fantastic Al-Anon starter, the 10 most common Al-Anon codependency terms and simple terminology descriptions of what they mean. And I use them in an example so you can actually see it in your own life. So the link for that is also in there. And I just want you to know I love you very much. I know this is hard, and it's not going to stay hard forever. If you're in this position, things are going to change. Even if you don't change them, they're going to change. Okay? The alcoholic just does not stay the same. It gets worse. So let's take some proactive action. And if you need to listen to this again, listen to it again. But it's take an inventory, make a plan, get support. Al-Anon. All right, you guys, I love you. I'll see you next week.